Let's talk a little bit more about this crime situation. President Trump's crime crackdown continues with another alleged Tren de Aragua gang member arrested in Washington, D.C. just last night. Joining me now is Pennsylvania Congressman and retired Brigadier General Scott Perry. General, we're also going to talk about Afghanistan, the fourth horrible anniversary of that debacle. But first, talking about Washington, I mentioned it a little bit with the panel here. Tremendous success. There's been, I believe, only one murder since this started 2 weeks ago. That's about 1,000% better than the way it had been going. And yet, listen to what Chicago's mayor says about what's happening. The possibility that the same method could be applied to cities like Chicago. Roll tape.
We are rejecting the occupation by the military of our cities. That's actually fighting for our democracy. That's what's required in this moment. When we fight back against tyranny, the people united will always prevail.
Tyranny, military occupation. What do you make of all this?
David, good to be with you. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, because we might have different views about America, how we solve our problems in America. But it sure seems like the Democrats are essentially making book or taking up with the criminals. Calling your National Guard, your military occupiers, understand these people that might serve in Chicago, that are serving in D.C., live in those communities. That's where they're from. They probably grew up there and they're serving there. You're calling your citizens, your constituents, occupiers because you disagree with President Trump and his methodology for getting crime under control. And whether or not the people of Chicago or Washington, D.C., elected officials that are incapable or unwilling to make the streets safe, Americans want to visit Chicago. Americans want to visit the United States Capitol.
And Chicagoans, the people from Chicago, want the safety for themselves and for their families and for their children. By the way, the mayor of Chicago, and I understand there's a difference between D.C., it's a federal district. And it would be a much larger step to send National Guard to another state, to a state unlike D.C. But here's also what the mayor of Chicago says. He says the U.S. is addicted to jails, calling them racist, immoral, and unholy. He wants to do away with all jails. And of course, the possible next mayor of New York wants to do away with cops. So I just don't believe that Americans, even in blue cities, who are so concerned about their own families' very existence, are going for this rhetoric anymore. And by the way, we should say the mayor of Chicago's poll ratings, I believe, are in the single digits right now.
Likely. It doesn't matter if you're from a blue city or a red state. You want to live in a place where it's safe, where your children can play, where you're not going to be robbed or assaulted. And that's not happening because Democrats, I hate to say it, but they just seem to have more affinity with criminals than they do with law-abiding people that just want to work, pay their taxes, and live their lives. And so this is when people talk about the difference between normal and crazy, this is what we're talking about. Yeah. That's crazy, and we're just looking for something that's normal. And the fact that the president took over the Washington, D.C.'s police force and has the National Guard there, the real important thing is that the crime rate has dropped through the floor. The point is if you want to do it, it can be done. You can live in one of these cities, even a blue city, be a leftist, and live in a safe place.
Yeah, I want to switch gears now to Afghanistan because we had a report by the previous administration which was responsible for the debacle in Afghanistan. They came out with a report essentially whitewashing every blemish that there was to be seen, and there were plenty of them, deadly blemishes that happened. The president talked a little bit about it on Monday. I just want to play that tape first. Roll it.
There are some great souls that are looking down on you right now, and they're very proud of their parents and brothers and sisters, and but moms and dads especially. Abbey, one of the dumbest days in the history of our country by a previous administration, getting out of a place that we shouldn't have been. It's 4 years. It's a 4-year anniversary. So we're signing a proclamation honoring them and honoring you and honoring your loved one.
And then we have Alex Pelbath, who was the last pilot to leave Afghanistan. He thought back on what had happened and talks about what needs to be done. Roll that tape.
A couple basic principles when it comes to military operations. One, don't put an arbitrary end date on a military operation. And two, don't tell the bad guys your plans. And Joe Biden did both of those things. And so what I would like to see is accountability. There hasn't been any. We know if a military leader had screwed up, we would have been held accountable for sure. So the fact that that hasn't happened at this point, I love that the administration is getting after this.
President Trump is going to be issuing their own study of what went wrong there. It's going to be issued in 2026. Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, absolutely. It has to be done. There are 13 dead service members and multiple injuries, not only of Americans, but Afghans. And there's been zero accountability. I mean, this poor guy that you just had on probably had more scrutiny for taking the plane off amidst all those people hanging on it and so on and so forth than did any of the people in the administration or any of the military leadership that was involved in that, the decisions that were made. I guarantee you, if a line officer had made those decisions and they would already be in jail, we would never hear from that person again. And people that serve in uniform know that, which is why it's so infuriating. Lives lost for no reason, for political reasons, and not one bit of accountability for the people at the top. Unacceptable.
Absolutely. Congressman and General Scott Perry, great to see you. Thank you very much.